is an ABC News special. How cool are you? Cool enough to get into this trendy nightclub?
Oh, wait, please. I can't. Isn't it kind of humiliating?
Well, we're used to it.
Will John Stossel get in?
How's this look?
We need to be in, and we'll put up with a lot of stuff, the way chimps do.
What does it take to be in with the in crowd? How early does it start?
Are you popular?
Yeah, popular. Free, leave me alone.
And can acting like this make kids popular?
Nice ass, didn't you wear that yesterday?
The popular kids were mean to him.
You're old.
Some kids can bully their way into the in crowd.
I'm going to beat you.
You were making life miserable for lots of kids.
Yeah.
It was fun to me to see people cry.
When can the trouble start?
Kicked and smacked me, and that's how I got bleeding.
And can not being popular have its own rewards?
On Survivor, it's why I won.
Tonight, the secrets you wish you knew back when. Maybe they can help someone you know now. Maybe your own child.
Everyone treats me nicer. I'm not elf boy.
The in crowd and social cruelty. Here now, John Stossel.
The in crowd. We all know what it is. I knew when I was in school, I wanted to be in. What kid doesn't want to be popular? What does it mean to be popular? Cool.
Everybody knows who's cool and who's not. And,
Everybody knows?
it's very obvious.
These sixth graders from a school in New Jersey tried to explain what popularity requires.
She's got nice clothes, or she does her makeup right, or he's a sports athlete or something, and stuff
Oh, wait,
like
so
that.
for girls, makeup, clothes, and boys, athletes? It quickly became clear there were different standards for boys and girls.
I don't know about boys.
The girls talked about looks and clothes, but when I asked about boys, they said, ask Zach, he's popular. Are you popular?
Yeah.
Everyone agreed he was popular, so I asked him why.
What is it that you need to be popular?
Well, psychologist Michael Thompson says he knows what it takes. Thompson's the author of Best Friends, Worst Enemies, and now he makes speeches to parents about friendship and popularity.
How golden is it to be popular? How great is it? Kids yearn for it.
These high school kids say popularity is power.
Once you have power, you have everything.
The popular kids have a lot of power over the other kids.
What do you mean power?
If they say, do this, do that. Run and fetch me this, run and fetch me that.
They could pretty much say, do my homework, and the kid will do the homework.
They're like kings. Yes, they are. And you can see them strut their stuff.
A number of schools allowed us to talk to the popular kids. We could see how the other kids looked up to them. Which makes me ask, what is it that makes those kids popular?
Number one criteria for popularity for a fourth grade girl. Somebody?
Thompson lists 3 things that make middle school girls popular.
Looks. Looks. Number 2, clothes.
Looks and clothes, and third, charisma, having a personality that attracts.
Well, people tell me that I have a personality that you just can't ignore.
All right, what is it? Criteria for boys. Number 1, sports. Number 2, sports.
Athletic ability puts boys in the in crowd. The actual number 2, he says, is stature. Taller, bigger boys have an advantage. And third on the list is humor. Boys who can laugh and make their friends laugh are popular. Kids don't always agree with the shallowness of Thompson's criteria. Does money matter?
No. That's ridiculous.
Kids go right to money right away, and they're right. The research says that wealthier kids have a better shot at being popularity in all schools.
It's so nasty.
Well, it is. It is, and luckily we don't get stuck in middle school all of our lives.
It is lucky, since at this age, most are in the in crowd or not. And cruelly, much of how they're ranked is determined by birth.
What makes you attractive to middle schoolers is pretty biological.
Kids understand that. So it's sort of unfair.
Yeah, just say you're bored.
We're all doing what we can to get noticed in the group. Why? Because we know we're getting rank ordered.
This is the age when cliques rule, and being excluded by the in-crowd hurts.
It is a tough world.
Psychologist Jeff Parker spent much of his career studying popularity.
Very difficult to hide in middle school. You can't run away and keep a low profile under the radar. Your mistakes are usually the fodder for everyone's discussion. Jazz, tell me about cool.
I think in order to be cool, you can't think you're cool. I think someone else has to think you're cool.
Trying to be cool keeps kids under pressure.
When you try to act cool, you eventually really end up acting stupid.
There's ferocious competition at the top.
You may have to be careful who you're seen with.
If I were to go to a movie with, like, a certain girl in our grade, and I was, like, seen there, that might...
My what?
Everybody would just be like, what's he doing with her?
It's particularly rugged in middle school because the need to be part of a group is so human. It's so primate.
What do you mean primate?
We need to be in. And we'll put up with a lot of stuff, the way chimps do. Young male chimps all wrestle and fight and establish a status hierarchy, with the top-ranking male chimp.
The strongest, the most athletic.
Yes,
Same as
the
with
most
boys.
athletic, yes. And female chimps establish a hierarchy. The females don't fight. No. They shun each other. They avoid. It's all done with looks, you know?
Guys like to settle it with fights, like fist fights, you know. Girls just tell each other off, get the point across. Guys like to feel powerful, you know.
And girls like to make things carry on, like, they like to carry it on.
They
for
won't let
weeks.
it go.
They won't let it go.
More harsh than boys.
Yeah, because I think so, because boys are just like, oh, you can't dribble a ball. Girls are like, you're ugly.
Girls are just more like just stiffing and then they hurt.
Girls hold grudges forever.
Yeah,
I mean, they just don't forget anything.
Yeah.
Do you have to be really popular to get to be a cheerleader?
No. Absolutely no.
No?
It's not about popularity.
I don't know.
Parker spent the day with some junior high cheerleaders.
Some people look at us as snobs, you know. Well, we're not really snobs.
Why would they think that?
I think, like, they're intimidated by us.
Because sometimes of the way we act, or maybe we don't talk to them, or we ignore them or something. I don't know.
Popular kids are not always the most liked, well-liked individuals.
Isn't being popular the same as being nice?
No. I can name like 20 people who are popular, but they're not nice.
Some popular kids put other kids down.
Yeah.
Makes them more...
I do. I put people down.
Like what? Put me down.
Put you down?
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Oh, come on. I'm tough. I can deal with it.
You're old.
Oh, Lord.
You look like you have like a rat above your mouth or something. No.
Actually, this feels familiar to me. I remember school as a place where I was looked down on because I was a dork.
I'll get to that later, but next, we look at what the in-crowd sometimes does to the dorks.
He's the perfect target, left out, alone, and vulnerable. When the in-crowd and social cruelty with John Stossel continues. The in-crowd and social cruelty continues. Here again, John Stossel.
The fact that there's an in-crowd, of course, means there's also an out-crowd, and that brings us to one of the uglier parts of school days, social cruelty.
All right, guys, let's play a little softball.
Oh, man, here we go. I've got Lewis.
This is a clip from a TV show called Freaks and Geeks that was about, well, freaks and geeks.
John, pick me.
The show's creators, Paul Feig and Judd Apatow, based the show on their childhoods.
And being awful at sports, it led to this moment every day in gym class where they would pick teams and you would be standing up against a fence and you'd be told in very clear words that you were awful.
Give me Nathan. Pick me.
It was just a terrible part of the day.
No.
Mainly because it happened twice a day, every day, for 12 years. It just never went away.
And in every school, says Thompson, about 20% of the kids are on the bottom of the social ladder. And the other kids let them know it.
We don't want to play with you. You're a dork. You're weird. You're terrible. You can't ever be included.
And so their lives, like those of the kids in this show, can be hell.
Now, who's in the bottom 20% of the class? Shy, introverted, often very bright and studious, and the other kids find them sort of odd.
Geeks.
You got it.
I was bullied by girls. I remember coming home crying that girls in the neighborhood were being mean to me, which, you know.
So he and Apatow made this TV show. It captured social cruelty well, but maybe too well. Freaks and Geeks was canceled after just one season. Guess we geeks didn't want to be reminded of what it was like.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rear.
There are children too terrified to go to school. Those kids need to be protected.
Thompson says kids can deal with social cruelty if they have a friend. It's those who don't, like this boy you'll meet soon, who Thompson worries about.
The bottom 20% of kids are at risk for not having a friend.
Kids need friends. You see the instinct even in babies.
The moment children can crawl, they crawl and seek out one particular other child.
By age 3, they can talk about it.
When I saw Morgan, I walked over to her and I decided to be friends with her.
At this age, of course, their parents are tremendously important.
But around 12, as you begin to separate from your parents developmentally, and you look at the peer group as kind of your new family, it's very important that you have somebody.
One friend or 5 friends is no best?
No, absolutely not. None is not good. The average elementary school child has 5 friends, but there's some kids who travel with a mob always. And I get real nervous when I talk to parents. If I tell them the average is 5, you see some moms and they think, oh, my child only has 3 friends and I better help him get more, you know, get him up above average. That's crazy.
I like that.
I'm not worried about a kid who has a friend. I'm worried about kids who have no friends. Whether you have 1 or 3 or 5 or 10 may depend on your temperament. But it's important that you have at least one.
We'll be right back.
When we come back,
You better keep it moving before I punch you in your face.
can acting like a bully make some kids popular? When the in crowd and social cruelty with John Stossel continues. The in crowd and social cruelty continues. Here again, John Stossel.
Social cruelty can mean name-calling and exclusion, as we've seen, but it also gets worse. In Canada, researchers spent hundreds of hours taping kids in playgrounds. They learned there are a lot of nasty things going on we adults rarely see.
Go fat kid! Go little shake your fat kid!
The boy with the ponytail is the bully here. He controls the kids around him.
Look at the way he stands over others and dominates them.
Psychology professor Wendy Craig did much of this taping.
Whenever we were in third one!
Here the bully's running a game where no one but he knows the rules.
No, it was Audrey that got out loud!
Why do the other kids play with him?
Because they're afraid not to. And he has gained the power in that peer group that this is the person to hang around with.
The kid's desire to belong helps explain this sad scene. This boy is repeatedly bullied. It soon becomes a group event. Others watch as the boy is kicked. Why do they kick him?
Because he likes it.
Soon 2 boys step on the victim. Others kick him. Michael Thompson says this piling on is common.
21% of kids jump in and imitate the bully.
Why do they do that?
If you see somebody's being very aggressive, you'd rather be like them than like the victim. To identify with the victim makes you feel kind of weak. To identify with the aggressor makes you feel strong.
Even the victims are drawn to the aggressors. They almost never run away.
You're coming back for more?
He keeps coming back because no attention is worse than this type of attention. If he wants to belong, he has to take it.
Dr. Craig says some victims will later tell adults the bully is their friend. The researchers saw an episode of bullying on the playground roughly every 8 minutes. And girls were as likely to bully as boys.
What this episode shows how clever girls are. They start to take her by her neck and walk around the playground, but they keep moving.
Keep walking!
So it's hard for an adult to identify that something's going on. They make her kiss the tree.
Kiss the tree! No!
Later, a girl tells her,
He's going to kill you. I think you're going to die.
And the girl doesn't run away. It's almost as if she thinks she deserves it.
And that's the problem. Sometimes children who are victimized believe that they do deserve it, and so they take it.
And this girl would call these other girls her friend?
Yes.
Here, one of her friends invites others to join in hurting her. A boy comes in to punch her, while another kicks her from behind.
An adult walks right by.
The adult has no idea what kind of intimidation is going on.
We seldom do, says Craig. And it's tough to know what's intimidation versus horseplay. Kids do a lot of shoving and trash talking, and many really are just having fun.
You don't want to suffocate the kids, but you want to protect the real victim. It sounds like it's an impossible job for a teacher.
It's very tough, which is why I don't jump in and blame teachers.
When Dr. Craig asked teachers, how often do you intervene in bullying? Most said, all the time. But on the tapes, the researchers saw teachers intervene less than 5% of the time.
We rarely see it. We don't intervene, and we don't hear it. But kids hear it and see it and are a part of it and inadvertently support it.
Never did I have fellow classmates try and stop me from bullying someone. Usually they would actually join in.
These former bullies and victims of bullies agreed to talk to us about their experience. Michael said he became a bully because he wanted to stand out.
I wasn't very popular, and I figured push people around, get people to see what I'm doing. That'll get my name out there. That'll get people to notice me.
And did it?
Yes, it did. People would recognize me in the hall, not just walk past me and see some kid that might get picked on.
Bullying often works.
Right there!
Some bullies become outcasts, but many are popular.
Bully boys are more highly regarded than victimized kids. So you can raise your stock. Even though the girls will say he's mean, stuff like that, they will rate you more highly.
Because the power makes you popular.
It's an aphrodisiac.
I seemed cool, I got attention, I was popular.
Jacob demonstrated how he'd use his 6'3" frame to intimidate.
Do I have to push you? Give me your money.
I don't want to give you money.
Why not?
It's my
I'm
money.
gonna beat you.
He and the others say they no longer bully people, but they like showing off what they used to do.
Like, how much do you weigh, small fry, huh? What do you weigh?
155.
I'm going to pick you up and just break your head over my legs, scrawny boy.
Don't be looking at me. You better keep it moving before I punch you in your face.
Girls are less likely to bully physically, but they do it too.
It was fun to me to see people cry.
Why?
It was just in my nature just to see people cry. I don't know why.
They have a fist up like this, getting ready, like they're gonna smack you or something.
Shatia's been picked on repeatedly.
Why do you get bullied?
Because I always cry all the time.
You think if you cry, that makes them do more to you?
Yeah, of course. You know, they acting like that's what they want. You know, they want to have some entertainment.
Is that right? Crying would make it more fun to bully somebody?
Yeah, it's a goal.
I used to continue doing it for the simple fact because they used to cry.
You didn't feel sorry for them?
No. if you didn't have the nerves to respond to my attitude towards you, no, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't have no pity.
School can be a tough place, and it's easy to see how tough when even the reformed bullies describe what they used to do with such obvious pride.
I made someone bulimic because I was very continuous about that they were fat and stuff.
How'd you make her bulimic?
You're fat, you're disgusting. How much do you weigh? Like 4 tons? Like, just on and on.
Made her binge and throw up?
Daily.
So you were making life miserable for lots of kids?
Yeah.
And did you care?
No.
And his school didn't do anything about it.
And they never told your parents?
No. Kids will be kids.
Sometimes adults rationalize bullying as, well, that's kids, when in fact it's traumatic. Those kids need to be protected.
Kids like this boy who was taped by Dr. Craig.
This is a playground that's filled with 150 children, and yet here we see this little boy walking around alone. No friends, no one to play with.
He has a small toy in his hand. One boy finally comes up to him, but only to take his toy. He then throws the toy away. Then another child intentionally smashes into him. He goes to get his toy, and then the child who smashed into him grabs him by the neck.
Life has to be hell for this kid who's constantly picked on.
Absolutely. For them, recess is the most terrifying moment of their day.
And they would rip her skirts. They would rip her clothes. They would rip her jewelry off her neck.
They even got to the point where they threatened to break her legs.
Donna and Larry Guerra's daughter, Kirby, was bullied at this middle school in Colorado Springs, bullied by the popular kids.
All the kids that harassed her were named the populars, and they could just get away with anything they wanted.
It's mostly the popular people that bully. They can get away with a lot of stuff because everybody else wants to be friends with whoever's popular.
This isn't unusual. The researchers say popular kids often get away with more, with students and teachers. That made life hell for Kirby and her friends.
Both of us were kicked and smacked around. And
I was shoved in the lockers, kicked.
if you even looked at them the wrong way, they would say, we'll hurt you, we'll kill you, you're not worth anything.
The kids and their parents complained about it.
We would go into the principal's office, and sometimes he wouldn't come see us. Other times, he would see us, and he would tell us to get a backbone, to toughen up, and stuff like that. And it doesn't help. It really doesn't help.
Kirby eventually went to her parents' medicine cabinet and took pills from every bottle she could find. Then she wrote this note to them.
I know my death will shock you, but I had to do it. All my life I have been teased, harassed, and pushed around. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I love you all very much, and I will see you again someday. I'm sorry to do this to you and disappoint you once more, but I just can't go on living because there's no place in the world for someone like me. I'm an outcast in school.
Amazingly, taking all the pills didn't kill Kirby. Her parents took her to a counselor. But the bullying continued, and 3 months later, Kirby killed herself with a rifle.
I'm angry at the principal and at that school for not giving my daughter the support she needed. I don't understand why they didn't want to help a child that was in so much pain, and why they would just ignore the fact that she was being harassed as bad as she was.
The school refused to be interviewed about what happened. They say they're worried about being sued. They also claim they're trying to decrease bullying. However, there is good news. Some schools have found ways to make life much better for the kids. And we'll look at that when we come back.
Next.
I want there to be blood all over, splattering.
Turning this attitude into this.
We used to be, but now he's like our best friend. Yeah. Awesome.
When the in crowd and social cruelty with John Stossel continues. The in crowd and social cruelty continues. Here again, John Stossel.
There is some good news about bullying and social cruelty. Some schools have found ways to reduce it a lot. And many say the way to make schools kinder and safer places is to start fighting social cruelty early.
How did you get hurt?
I pushed TJ, and then he kicked and smacked me, and that's how I got bleeding.
Is that true?
He started first.
Here in Sydney, Maine, the Bean Elementary School believes kindergarten kids should be taught to take responsibility for what they do.
Look at this eye. And look at his mouth. How did that happen? TJ, how did that happen?
The philosophy at this school is, don't let any incident slide.
Did you hit someone?
Just tapped him.
Every incident must have a consequence.
How do we make this right?
All the consequences are clearly outlined, so every kid understands. Bad behavior leads to predictable punishments, usually loss of a privilege. For hitting,
You lose one recess, so you can think about it, right?
There's a need for a kid to run into a wall, or the behavior isn't going to change. It's too much fun.
Stan Davis runs the anti-bullying program at the Bean School, which also teaches kids how to patch things up. The program works, says this boy, who says he used to be a bully.
I think before I react. It's better, and detention is no fun.
You got to change the whole system the kid's in. Just like if you wanted to get rid of smallpox, you had to inoculate instead of treat one case at a time.
Yo, Eric, man, you better step off. I heard you're trying to get with Kelly. Look, man,
This school in Johnstown, Pennsylvania tries to inoculate students by having them watch older kids role play.
You know what? You don't stop. You're trying to get a kiss out of Kelly?
Jeff Parker runs this session for middle school kids.
Just want to go out with you with the last guy in the world. I mean, look at you.
It's middle school, more than high school, where bullying is more of a problem. Parker tells kids the key to stopping this is in the hands of the bystanders.
All those bystanders were standing around. Some of them were egging them on. Even the ones that were just standing there, not doing anything, were letting it happen.
Bystanders routinely do that. We saw it in the Canadian tapes. Look at the group on the right. They're standing just a few feet away from the victim, but they don't do anything. None of the other kids in the playground helped this bullied girl either. So Dr. Craig says she could have been saved if just one child had spoken up.
That's enough to make a difference?
Every second time, if one child says stop it, it will end the bullying within 10 seconds.
Just takes one kid.
One kid.
I want there to be blood all over, splattering on my shirt, my white shirt, because there's usually only fights around here.
But rarely will one child say stop. Look at this incident, taped by a student.
It's like the fight's over here.
Obviously, lots of kids knew there was going to be a fight, but no one moves to stop it. The crowd watches as one child just beats another child up.
Swing, man, you gotta swing, man.
Michael Thompson says most students will eagerly watch without trying to stop it.
These are presumably good kids with kind feelings, but they just watch this cruelty happening?
That's right.
Why?
It's vicariously exciting. Watching people hit each other is a human pastime. It starts in school.
In this case, after the student was thoroughly beaten, the biggest kid, the one you saw at the beginning saying he wanted to see blood, suddenly runs up and cold cocks and then steps on the kid who won the first fight.
One shot. One shot.
This boy was briefly knocked out, but he's okay. The bigger kid was later convicted of assault. So what can schools do to stop this kind of thing?
Free! Leave me alone.
At this high school, they have the kids role-play typical fights.
Nice ass, didn't you wear that yesterday?
It's part of a bullying program in New York.
Any given day, one of you can be harassed, can be bullied.
George Anthony tries to teach kids they have more choices than just taking it.
She sits in English class and stares at me like I have 10 heads.
The exercises are supposed to show kids ways of avoiding the violence.
Ever since that day when she started staring at me and giving me dirty looks, I decided to abuse her.
This is a training class for peer mediators, students who are trained to mediate fights between other students.
What do you need from her to understand about you? Tell her.
I leave my house thinking I'll be okay in school with my friends. But no, I have to get harassed every day.
She dresses like a freak, she looks like a freak, and she acts like a freak.
There will be no put-downs of any kind, no insults.
Anthony teaches the mediators to set ground rules like that force the warring parties to hear the other side's point of view.
If you was in her shoes, what would you have done?
She could have just, like, fought me and be like, listen.
There's only one of me and you and all your friends. I mean, come on. You know I'm gonna lose.
How would you like to leave this room today? Solving it or not solving it?
The kids say they're much better at solving these problems than teachers.
Why did it have to be a peer? Why not go to an adult?
Because adults think that they know more.
Yeah, I know more.
That's why we can't converse with them, because they always think that they're right.
The kids know what we're going through. The peer group understands.
Other schools use adults to mediate.
Okay, I think you know why you're here.
And that can work, too. This is a real mediation, and the mediator's the school principal.
She started making fun of me and my friends and mocking me in the bathroom and calling my friends fat.
I wasn't mocking you. I was looking in the mirror.
These girls had accused each other of spreading rumors, and this one feared violence.
Like, I got threats to be beaten up for it, threats to be killed by your boyfriend.
I never told anyone to say anything like that.
I told you, please stop having your boyfriend harass me because I'm really getting scared.
I can't make you shake hands.
Whether it's an adult or a student, what's important, says Thompson, is that someone intervene. Make them sit down and talk about it. And to try to prevent bullying, to police the playground and circulate through the cafeteria.
So what you doing?
We know what happens if there are no programs and if teachers aren't trained. We know that children cannot learn when they're being bullied.
I have the power to change my school.
Jeff Parker says the best anti-bullying programs don't just fight bad behavior, they encourage good behavior.
If you are willing to take this pledge, get up here and put your name on this.
It may sound corny, but the kids say it works. Nick had been a target of bullies for years, but not anymore.
It is a real big change.
Here, a bullying program tries to get kids to cooperate by unraveling a human knot.
Work together.
Some programs have warring parties actually sign peace treaties. Others do exercises where they have kids put stickers on their heads that say things like, "Treat me like I'm annoying," so kids will learn how it feels to be a victim.
Getting on my nerves.
You're weird.
The kids say exercises like this improve the whole atmosphere at this school. Last year, Nick often pretended that he was sick.
I would run up to the bathroom and fake sounds like I was puking, and so that I wouldn't have to go to school.
Go to school and face the worst bully.
He would try to rob me and everything. He said I would look like an elf with my ears sticking out like this.
After the program, he says everything's changed.
It has really helped me a lot because kids are always saying, like, "Hi, Nick, how you doing?" And everyone treats me nicer, and I'm not elf boy.
You can't say this is an academic institution. We don't care about the rest. We are under a moral obligation to make it as safe as possible.
Hi, Josh.
And to make sure kids know there's always an adult who will listen.
Davis, I want to talk to you.
Okay, come on.
In schools that do this, we kept hearing from kids who are now happier and freer than they'd been before.
We used to beat him up, but now he's like our best friend.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I never thought it would happen in a million years. I didn't think it was possible. I figured we'd go on fighting forever and never be friends.
There used to be fighting everywhere. Now it's all changed, and I like school. I don't want to go on summer vacation at all.
Well, that may be a lot to ask for, but some schools are making life better for kids.
When we come back, the revenge of the nerds, the kids who just weren't cool, like Stossel.
I remember asking her out and getting shot down.
I don't think there's any motivation stronger than I'm going to show them. They made a mistake about me.
When the in-crowd and social cruelty with John Stossel continues. Crowd and social cruelty continues. Here again, John Stossel.
How important is high school or middle school? Does what happened then still matter now? If you were in or out, does that affect life later? Is there a relationship between school life and real life? Those girls in Altoona, Pennsylvania thought no.
In 5 years from now, no one's going to care. They're not going to care, oh, well, she was a cheerleader, or he was on the football team. People make more of it than it actually is.
Oh, really? We'll forget later? The competition over who sits with whom in the lunchroom? Over who's in the in-crowd? That goes away after high school? Not a chance. Just check out what's happening at this trendy night spot in New York City. Outside, people line up and wait, hoping to get in. They wait sometimes for hours.
Not tonight, man. Not tonight. Don't waste your time. Sorry. I just have too many guys coming up. No way you can just be. I can't. I have enough guys inside.
I know that this guy's woman. I know this guy's boys.
We'll wait for a little while.
There's basically no chance, really.
Aww.
Isn't that kind of humiliating?
Well, we're used to it. It always happens, no matter where we are.
While they wait, other cooler people just walk in.
How are you? Good. How are you?
You have to look a certain way.
Andre must be cool. He got in.
If you're a very boring type of looking person, they don't let you in.
Even when it's not crowded, the doorman keeps some people out.
There's nobody in line. Don't you understand? This is crazy. Look at that. Look, you're like this guy. And he's no better looking than I am for crying out loud. And then they laugh. Look at that. They're laughing about it.
It's kind of like high school. In fact, lots of adult life is like high school. We still worry about what's in and what's out. We adults make fun of teen conformity, how an entire group might bare their stomachs to look like Britney Spears. But lest we smugly say we adults are so much better at resisting peer pressure, remember Candid Camera proved that wrong years ago. They had people stand in an elevator facing the wrong way.
And you'll see how this man tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he's one of the group now. Here's a fella with his hat on in the elevator. First he makes a full turn to the rear and Charlie closes the door. A moment later, we'll open the door. Everybody's changed positions.
And social cruelty certainly continues into adulthood. We mock others' looks, like this diss of Linda Tripp.
On what did Vernon Jordan say?
He thinks that you should get liposuction, too.
And adults enjoy making fun of people's intelligence.
You're hardly brilliant, are you?
This quiz show's based on putting people down.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
She's the class bully. She's the class bossy bully.
Michael Thompson says we adults are just kidding ourselves if we think we're past this stuff.
Have you seen People magazine? I mean, it's middle school for adults. You know, Cindy Crawford is not in there because she has an MD degree.
Adults buy books on how to be popular.
How important is a good handshake?
Some even take charisma classes, hoping to learn what the in-crowd knew in middle school. The instructor has them practice impressing people by the way you walk into a room.
Look at the people in the eyes and smile. Each person. Each person. Look at each person. Power. Power. Very confident. Slow. Shoulders back.
Many people come to classes like this, as author Ralph Keyes, because they've never gotten over bad memories from high school.
It never leaves you. It's always there. We're all, at some level, the kid that we were at 16.
Keyes wrote a bestseller about it. Is there a life after high school? Though he's successful now, he can't forget being in the out crowd.
There were parties I couldn't go to in high school. There were tables I couldn't sit at in the cafeteria. That was their crowd, not my crowd.
And you still resent that?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's a visceral thing.
Keyes says lots of us hold on to defeats from high school.
Gerald Ford, in his first speech to Congress as President of the United States, he stood up and he said,
"In my first campaign for president of my senior class in South High School in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I headed the Progressive Party ticket and lost."
He said, I seem to be doing a little better now than I did at South High School in Grand Rapids.
And success later, Keyes says, seldom erases the pain of school.
I don't believe it.
Dustin Hoffman was repeatedly teased in school.
And when he finally, got his leading roles, he looked up at his name in lights and he said, "Why couldn't that have happened to me when I was 16 and needed it?"
I can identify. While preparing this program, my staff made me revisit my tortured memories of high school. They had me go through my old yearbooks, saying they wanted to call some of these people up and ask them about me. Just thinking about it made me sweat. Here was the in-crowd that I felt rejected me.
Then my sadistic production team threw me a surprise reunion with some of my old classmates. They didn't tell me who was coming.
Who are you?
I just wondered. Yeah.
Rick?
I'm Paul.
Paul
Adams. Remember, I saw you in...
Embarrassing me further, they enlarged our old photos so we could see how dorky we looked.
That's me. Not smiling because I had braces.
We sat down and looked at our yearbook and remembered how out we felt. I certainly wasn't a star athlete, or tall, or funny. Versus the cool kids. They looked like adults almost. I felt like a child in their presence.
These guys matured early, and they were men, while we were boys.
Well, they were taller. A lot of them were taller.
Anybody remember this guy?
Sure. He came down from Olympus.
We all agreed this kid was like a god. Tall, star of the basketball team.
I always felt if he would be my friend, then my life would be good.
So after this, we called him up. He didn't even remember any of us. We weren't in the in crowd. Of course, we remember them.
I remember her as being really cute. Mm-hmm. She was a dish. Mm-hmm.
I remember asking her out and getting shot down.
Well, we'll probably find a lot of those.
Now we could even laugh about the bullies. And we remembered feeling excluded by the in crowd.
My mom said it was, enjoy this. It's the best years of your life. And I remember thinking, this is it?
We probably weren't even in that bottom 20% Thompson worries about, but none of us was in, and none of us has forgotten that.
I just remember being an outcast. I remember not really feeling a part of any kind of a group.
And those who are in, do they continue doing better in life? Well, Thompson says the social skills that make you popular in school often do make you popular later.
When you're in the popular group, you're often with kids who have good social skills as well. One of the advantages of being popular is that the rich get richer, psychologically speaking.
The President of the United States.
We have a President of the United States who was an indifferent student at best, and who turns out to have a lot of social skills.
But Keyes says there's a downside to being popular.
You can get people to like you, but that doesn't necessarily translate into success. Because to be successful, I think sometimes it's important that people not like you. Look at Bill Gates. Was Bill Gates popular in high school? I don't think so.
Keyes says having a bad time at school often spurs people to work at becoming successful. Richard Hatch says that's what happened to him.
The winner of the first Survivor competition is Rich.
Hatch, you may recall, won $1 million by outlasting 15 others on Survivor. They were put on an island, and each week one person was voted off, rejected by the others.
Jenna, the tribe has spoken.
Hatch says he owes his win to what he learned from being picked on as a kid.
One of the guys in the neighborhood made me crawl around the neighborhood on my hands and knees as a horse.
To try to hide from bullies, he avoided showering after gym.
And then, when I do, and I go in the shower, somebody pees on my leg.
To survive high school, he says he studied social interaction.
I started to look at how I was impacting people, how people were impacting one another.
How'd you use that on Survivor?
Well, on Survivor, it's why I won. As I sat in the tree in the first episode, it was amazing how similar these kids, all ranges of age, were to the kids in high school.
Whoa, look at this, bro.
Vying for position, trying to figure out who you liked, who you didn't like, who was cool. Let me be with them.
He says he used what he learned in school so that this time things would go his way.
Okay, so here's the deal. I want you to pick her to be ejected, not me.
He was far from the most popular person on the island. Some even hated him.
We have Richard the Snake.
You were called a snake in front of millions of people.
A snake, sure, go ahead. People call me manipulative. I call it influential.
Devious.
Devious. I won.
It's all about a strategy.
I don't think there's any motivation stronger than I'm going to show them. They made a mistake about me.
And the winner is Sissy Spacek.
Yeah, Sissy Spacek did not get a part in her senior class play. She showed them. Bruce Springsteen says himself, I was unpopular in high school. Other people didn't even know I was there. We know he's there now.
Bruce Springsteen.
And I showed him.
I'm a celebrity now. My high school social defeats are over, aren't they? I showed up at that trendy club while our crew was taping. The doorman didn't know I was with the camera crew.
Hi, sir.
Hi. Ken, is there a way to get in?
Surely he'd let me in, no?
I'm just taking care of people on the guest list because I have a private party downstairs and I have many guys, way too many guys already for tonight.
Is there a point in waiting?
There's unfortunately no point on waiting tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
No chance.
No chance tonight, sir. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh well, high school never ends.
The In Crowd and Social Cruelty will be back in a moment. The In Crowd and Social Cruelty continues. Here again, John Stossel.
What can we learn from what we've seen tonight? Well, first, we better accept that in schools, cruel things will happen, and we adults often have no clue about them. But the fact that we can't see and stop it all, say the researchers, shouldn't stop us from trying. They say, watch the playground. Watch how your kids behave with other kids, and ask them about bullies. Most important, they say, if your children don't have at least one friend, get them help. That's our program for tonight. 2020 will be back next week. I'm John Stossel. Good night.
To find out more, you can chat online with psychologist Michael Thompson. For details or to join a discussion of tonight's broadcast, go to abcnews.com.
Sean Connery stars in Thunderball on the Bond Picture Show Saturday on ABC. You're watching WXYZ 7. Now, action news at 11 with Diana Lewis.